RetroPals, living in the past, broadcasting memories that forever last. Retropalooza, where the old scenes play, laugh until the night turns into day.
Let's start with Pat. We'll go Pat, Bob, and then BK. Go for it,
the
Pat.
largest list I have.
Well, to make room for all of Barry's choices, besides Stacy, because we know she's number one, that's the era, again, where Charlie's Angels ruled the airwaves.
From the producers of Starsky and Hutch, Charlie's Angels.
They work for me. My name is Charlie.
Meet Jill, Kelly, and Sabrina, tempting angels who could capture any man. Charlie's Angels.
Farrah did not do it for me. She was not overblown, but over publicized, I think is the word, which put Jaclyn Smith in the perfect place to come in under the radar. But every move I make, from taking that dang helmet off when she was riding the motor, oh my gosh, that hair, that beauty, and she's still kicking. Yeah, Jaclyn was my favorite from that era, for sure. Okay, then there was Victoria Principal. Yeah, I don't know why I liked her. A couple reasons. And then there was Heather Thomas. Who?
That was 80s.
Are you jumping the gun?
You jumping the gun.
Are we in the 70s? Wait a minute.
Okay, stop. I know you want to be like Barry, but just stop.
Wait, I didn't jump decades. I didn't jump that.
Decades. Forgive me, folks. Juliet Mills, please. If it's not Marlo Thomas, who of course was, but that's my first real crush right there. From The Nanny and the Professor, or excuse me, Nanny and the Professor. That was my first real crush. I mean, I was attracted and understood what it was to see beautiful people. When I saw her, I'm like, I need a nanny, mommy. That one.
That's creepy.
Yes. No. And, well, that's Pat. And then, of course, there's Mom.
That's right.
I mean, look at that. That's porcelain beauty right there, folks.
She was beautiful. She was.
She really was. A great actress. Oh, my God. She carried that show, too. I mean, came in and just, this is my show, and I'm going to be told what to do. And then she turned the whole thing around and said, no, I'm going to make it an independent, self-sufficient woman prior to Mary Tyler Moore. So she did influence that. And she influenced me, too, to just fall in love.
Bob, you're up.
Well, I got to say, my first real crush, by the way, was, of course, also fellow Massachusettsite Bay Stater, Kathy Coleman from The Land of the Lost. I was 8 or 9 at the time. She would have been, I guess, like 14, a much older woman. I always had a thing for older women. She emulated strength and charm, yet vulnerability, and I just thought she was absolutely amazing. Apart from the possible exception of Miss Cartwright from Lost in Space, Kathy Coleman was my first real crush. That being said, Pat, I got to disagree with you. Very rarely I do this, but I was team Farrah Fawcett. My best friend was Jaclyn Smith, and we used to argue about this routinely, but I was team Farrah Fawcett. And I got to give this one as a shout-out because someone else mentioned it, and it would be a shame not to at least tip the old hat to Catherine Bach. The woman actually has her own fashion statement. The woman introduced a garment into our society, which is still here to this day. That's saying something. So I'm going to have to give it to those three young ladies as a triumvirate of 70s crushes, and I will leave you with that. I thank you.
And Farrah had her own hairdo, the Farrah flip.
Well,
And
she
her
had her own
doll.
shampoo.
Yeah,
I mean,
shampoo,
she
yeah.
had her own doll.
She owned her own Barbie-esque doll.
Yeah, yeah. The Farrah phenomenon was a real thing. Barry, you're up.
Light thrash. I've got. It's not a three-way tie, but I'll second and third and fourth what he said about Farrah. With all due respect to my esteemed colleague Pat McCormack, I loved Jacqueline Smith. She was fantastic. She was a great actress. She was actually the best angel on the show. She was the one that did the most and one of the better actresses in the show. But Farrah Fawcett transcended all of that. A lot of people don't realize she was only on one season of the show, but then went on to just go into superstardom about doing all these other things and everything else, and just went up to the stratosphere with her stardom, and then proved in the 80s that she could act and a dramatic act, which was fantastic. So the phenomena of Farrah, it is still, I went for years, it was hard for me not to say Farrah Fawcett-Majors, because that was the name that she was known as for so many years. And I still consider her and Lee Majors, they didn't make it, they didn't last, but they were our royal couple from the 70s. They really were our generation. They were our royal couple, and that's who I considered them. I also want to throw out there Lindsay Wagner from The Bionic Woman. Lindsay was incredible. I mean, she had a big task to do. She had to be like Steve Austin on another network, and did it, and sometimes did it better. So Lindsay was amazing. She still is an amazing lady today. I've met her a couple of times and talked to her. She's a very nice lady as well.
This is Lindsay Wagner. Here are some scenes from the next episode of The Bionic Woman.
Robots, I call them fembots.
These mannequins aren't going to fool anybody.
Good morning, Mr. Goldman.
Good morning, Miss Callahan. Kidnap Oscar Goldman. I order all action units to kill me as soon as possible. Goodbye. Amy, cut them, I missed. Capture. Increase power on the fembots.
You're no match for us, Summers.
And one more from Buck Rogers. I have to go with Pamela Hensley, Princess Ardala from Buck Rogers. As a kid, I felt a certain way about her, but I don't know why. I know now why, but I didn't know then why I felt what I was feeling. So there's three good ones from the 70s. That was the longest list that I had to whittle down and try to work with, because that's when all the crushes kicked into high gear for me, was the 70s.
Just one look at this photo tells you exactly why she was a crush for a lot of us.
She's got a cookbook out now. She's an author and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, she pretty much mid-'80s decided to be done acting, published a cookbook, and then just kind of faded away into everyday normal, just being a regular human being. I suspect she's just as good at everyday normal life as she was on screen. So
I agree.
She's
100%.
one of my crushes as well. Surprised no one mentioned Linda Carter.
Who?
Linda's out there for sure. Yeah.
Linda Carter. Let me think.
But I had to shorten the list.
The other one I'd mention real quick would be
who? This is why it should be a 3-hour show, Dave.
No.
Farrah's replacement.
Farrah's replacement. We'll just call her that. I do have to correct you on the Farrah only did appear as a regular cast member on Charlie's Angels.
Right. That's what I meant. Yeah. Correct.
But remember, she was contractually obligated to show up, even if she did seem miserable all the way through the third season, right?
Yeah, kind of like Suzanne Summers in Three's Company. She had that kind of weird contract too. Yeah.
Well,
when she was on the phone.
Yeah, the phone calls.
Right.
The phone calls.
That was so tragic.
Oh yeah. Speaking of, I'll throw one more out there for you guys.
Oh, Joyce.
What a cutie. You know, anyone that of course, Don Wells for me in the 60s. Well, Joyce DeWitt for me in the 70s.
I thought Joyce DeWitt and Suzanne Plachette had that similar look about them.
Yes, they do.
Very
they
good
do.
look.
And Pat, you were trying to say something?
Well, Barry just always talks over me. I don't know why. I mean, it's not like we're on the radio together, but yes, Plachette. I'm hoping to have her as a guest on radio.
Oh, that'd be great to have Suzanne on as well. I
Not
thought
Plachette.
Suzanne was dead.
What did I just say?
Joyce DeWitt.
Joyce,
DeWitt.
thank you.
Suzanne's gone.
Suzanne Plachette, but of course,
if you manage to pull that interview, you're going to get 100 million views. I guarantee it.
Back from the dead to join Pat.
If you get an interview with Joyce DeWitt, how fantastic would that be? Because she's kind of faded into that kind of, I know she does like dinner theaters and does some live acting and does that kind of stuff. But for the most part, she has just kind of gone on and lived her life as well. And how wonderful it would be for you to be able to interview her. I'd love to kind of catch up with her and be able to hear what she's doing these days, in terms of other things besides just the craft of acting.
A smooth look is a sexy look, and it's yours with undie legs. Pantyhose with a stay-put panty. Undie legs go under the clingiest of clothes, erasing wrinkly panty lines forever. All that's left is you.
Stretching, bending, standing, setting. There's one pantyhose that's always fitting. Nothing beats a great pair of plates.
Another honorable mention you guys might remember too is from Secrets of Isis, Joanna Cameron.
Yeah. Oh, another great one.
Woman she was. She's very great actress too. Very nice.
Emily says we're not talking about any of the guy crushes. I'm going to mention a guy crush, not necessarily a crush that I had, but you know what? I've certainly grown to appreciate him. Friend of Barry King, recent interviewee on the Pat McCormack Retro Radio podcast, one TV's Michael Gray. Every time I listen to this feller, I just love what he has to say. He's so humble. Yeah. And yet this is a guy who through the 70s was just a teen idol. And then he showed up, speaking of Joanna Cameron, showed up on one of my favorite superhero TV shows of the 70s, the Shazam show, which was just, he was so good in that. And I love where he was talking, I think in your interview, Pat, where his manager approached him about Shazam and said, yeah, I don't know if you really want to do this. And Michael's like, it's work. Why wouldn't I? And it turned out to be, even though his manager was hesitant to bring Shazam to him, the role of Billy Batson to him, because it was Saturday morning TV, it turned out to be kind of the thing that he relishes most about his career. And he's had a lot of amazing things, but he just loves being part of the Shazam legacy. Another fantastic interview, Pat. I know you visited with him as well, BK. Just love listening to that guy.
Well, going back and listening to this show, depending on what date it is, he just had a birthday this past couple of days.
That's right. I wished him happy birthday on Twitter. Yeah. Happy birthday, Michael.
And if we're going to do 70s guy crushes, or that is to say, guys who were crush material, you have two of the biggies of all time. Of course, you have Sean Cassidy, which all the girls in my school were in love with at the time. And of course, tip of the hat to the LDS, we had, of course, Donny Osmond. My wife is still in love with Donny Osmond.
And Marie.
Honest with you, she still thinks he's amazing.
And Marie.
Well, yeah, but she's not a guy crush. She's a girl crush. And I I had a crush on her myself, actually. And if we had more time, I would have mentioned that. But I wanted to shout out Donny Osmond.
Shout out to the Osmonds. Obviously, being from Utah and of the same faith as the Osmonds, it was something I always rooted for them. And relished in their success. And, of course, had a crush on Marie as well. So, how couldn't you? And when Donnie made his big comeback in the 80s, when he made that big comeback with Soldier of Love, no one was more excited than I was for him.
And a whole new generation discovered him. It was incredible, yeah.
And I loved him in Dreamcoat. He was actually amazing.
So good as Joseph. Yep.
Okay.
So good as Joseph.
Okay, you turkeys. I got to give the Donny Osmond story because you're all talking about him. It was the 49ers, Joe Montana era. Ladies and gentlemen, to sing the national anthem, Mr. Donny Osmond, 80,000. As he's walking out, he is being it's tens of thousands of people booing him, and he just gets the mic and goes, "Oh, say can," does the whole thing. By the time he was done with that piece, everybody were on their feet, cheering with all their voices because he went out there unlike anything. I was probably 12 when I saw this. It was the best rendition of the Star Spangled Banner that I'd ever seen.
Wow, I didn't know that.
He shut tens of thousands of people up, turned them completely around, and when he walked off, I'll never forget that.
Amazing story. That's a great story.
It's great.
Love it. I hope Donnie gets to hear that story one of these days.
Four pals just hanging out, nostalgia in the air. Classic shows to celebrate with laughter we all share. We call it a retro-palooza. It's an hour or two of fun. We're nerding out together and we could probably use some sun. Oh, we're the Retro Pals, living in the past, broadcasting memories that forever last. Retro-palooza, where the old scenes play. day.
Look who's turning Diet 7-Up. I guess you have to give up a lot to fit into your costume, huh, Linda?
I don't have to give up anything, Don. Remember, I'm a star. Besides, any diet drink can help me fit into my costume.
Then why the Diet 7-Up, sweetie?
Because it's crisp, it's light, it doesn't have that funny diet taste. Why are you drinking it, Don?
Oh, I like the taste, too.
That's impossible.
Why is that?
Because you don't have any taste, Donny, dear.
You're a beauty, too. A dandy.
A man bent on revenge threatens the powers of Wonder Woman.
You killed my brother.
And this man's on the loose with this awesome power.
Next, a hunter finds prize game on Logan's Run.
He stalked and killed every kind of animal.
You'll be my ultimate challenge.
Then on Switch, a driver's death forces Pete and Mac into a deadly race.
You're either gonna have to drive that car or blow your cover.
If he gets too close, you kill him.
It's a super evening of excitement and drama. The new adventures of Wonder Woman, Logan's Run, and Switch. Friday beginning at 8, 7 Central and Mountain.
Four pals just hanging out, nostalgia in the air. Classic show to celebrate with laughter we all share. We call it a retro-palooza. It's an hour or two of fun. We're nerding out together and we could probably use some sun. Oh, we're the Retro Pals, living in the past, broadcasting memories that forever last. Retro-palooza, where the old scenes play, laughing till the night turns into day.